In the world of microbrands, it's not always easy to create something that stands out from a design perspective. That's why when I see a brand doing something pretty cool, I love to get my hands on their watch and highlight what I like about them. Today, I have two watches from Aera, an exciting new microbrand that's doing some really cool things. Hi, I'm Craig, founder of Wrist Enthusiast. Recently, I was able to get my hands on a couple watches from a new up-and-coming microbrand that has become increasingly popular in collector circles. The watches are from Aera, spelled A-E-R-A, and are the D-1 Diver and P-1 Pilot. After some conversations with the brand, they agreed to send me both the Diver and Pilot for a review. Both watches are unique in their own way, but share a common aesthetic that isn't always readily noticeable in a lot of microbrands. The idea behind Aera was to create an honest watch with a less is more approach to the design language. What came from this design approach were watches with fairly minimalistic design cues, a very ergonomic case design, and superb legibility. You know, all the things tool watches should be. Naturally, a pilot and a diver are the two most notorious professions to utilize a tool watch, so Aera created one of each. Both are attractive in their own right, but each has a distinct aesthetic focused on providing the most utility for a pilot or a diver. So let's start with the D1 Diver. The D1 Diver measures in at an intimidating 44mm case size in stainless steel. As someone who doesn't typically venture above 42mm on my most confident days, I was concerned that the watch would simply be too big for my wrist. However, because of the way the case was constructed and designed, it's still incredibly wearable for someone who wouldn't typically be attracted to large watches. The case is unique in shape, being heavily tapered with a pretty extreme lug depth, meaning the watch more or less hugs the wrist. At the same time, the case back is deeper to allow for it to sit on top of the wrist well, instead of contouring to the top or bottom of the wrist, like many oversized divers often do. I can confidently say that the Aera D1 Diver is very comfortable, and I appreciate the fact that I wasn't constantly pulling the watch up or down to sit on top of my wrist appropriately. With the dome crystal tapering directly into the angled ceramic bezel, the case and bezel are coherent and feel similar to a pebble case. It's why the watch feels like it wears a little smaller than its 44mm size would suggest. The dial of the D1 Diver is one of the most coherent and legible dials I have seen on a watch at this price point. In fact, despite the indexes having lume, I think this watch might be legible in the ocean without it. This is due to the way the dial is constructed and how that construction plays with the light. For starters, the dial is shaped like a pie dish constructed from a single sheet and colored in a matte black. With this reversed effect from the domed sapphire crystal, the dial is almost magnified without looking warped, as is often the case with watches with these pie pan dials. When this is paired with really crispy white indexes, everything pops. And I doubt we will hear anyone complain about legibility here. It's a tool watch through and through, and the only pop of color is a light blue seconds hand tip and the pip at the top of the bezel. Overall, this gives the watch a cohesive DNA that fits it for the gym or 300 meters below the sea. Moving on to the P1 Pilot, both watches share a decent bit of the Aera DNA. While the P1 measures in at 43mm instead of 44mm, it features a similar pebble-esque case shape, once again being superbly comfortable on the wrist despite its larger sizing. And it doesn't quite feel like 43mm, which I very much appreciate. The watch features the same pie pan dial with the same matte finishing, and instead of more traditional dive indexes, the watch is uniformly and obviously designed with pilots in mind. The oversized Arabic numerals are the same crisp white, and the watch features a 60-minute chapter ring in intervals of 5. Once again, the watch is incredibly legible, and definitely a one-stop shop for a pilot looking to check the time at a glance. Both watches feature the Sellita SW201 movement. The movement beats at 4 Hz, features a 40-hour power reserve, and 26 joules. Overall, this automatic movement is a workhorse, and those purchasing won't need to worry about servicing or issues for a long time, as this is one of the most tried and true movements in the industry for watches at this price point. Though the watches do feature a steel caseback and the movement isn't visible, I'd argue that the SW200 isn't exactly a looker anyway, and would prefer the extra branding to a raw Sellita any day. The watches come on a myriad strap options ranging from all sorts of leather, rubber, and NATO textile straps. One of my favorite parts of the D1 and P1 was the constant change of personality that was optioned right from the beginning. One of the first things I did was swap out the black rubber strap on the P1 for a slick gray suede strap that dressed it up a little bit. Each watch and strap features a quick change pin, and each is fitted to the case, with the exception of the NATO straps because, obviously. So swapping them out was a breeze. Overall, I don't really have anything negative to say about Aera watches as a brand or the P-1 Pilot or D-1 Diver. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with the watches and felt they punched well above their weight when it comes to quality and effort put into a fairly affordable timepiece. The simplicity and attention to legibility and design was a testament to what can happen when microbrands don't just try to conform to the industry norms and actually go out and produce something fun, unique, and original. That makes me, and the rest of us at the Wrist Enthusiast team, excited to see what the future holds for Aera watches. Price for the Aera comes in at a modest $1,300 for the P-1 Pilot and $1,400 for the D-1 Diver. Are you as impressed with the Aera lineup as I am? If so, leave a comment in the section below and let us know your thoughts. And don't forget, if you like this video and want to see more content like it, to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Once again, I'm Craig Carger, and thanks for watching.